The news hit like a storm, uprooting everything in its path. Lena's world shattered when she heard that her husband, Samir, had been in a tragic accident. He was returning from a work trip, and while crossing a busy highway, his car collided with another vehicle, leaving him with no chance of survival. Lena couldn't breathe. The words seemed distant, echoing in her ears, but she couldn't comprehend them. Samir, the man she had loved for so many years, the man who had shared her dreams, her laughter, and her heart, was gone. They had been married for 5 years, but it felt like a lifetime of memories had been created in the blink of an eye. Samir had been her rock. From their first date at a small cafe to their quiet evenings at home, they had built a life that was filled with love and understanding. Lena could still remember the way Samir had held her hand during their wedding, promising to love her through every high and low, every joy and sorrow. They had made plans together, traveled the world, started a family, and grown old side by side. But those plans, those dreams, were now nothing but echoes of a past that could never be. Samir had always been the one who held her when she cried, the one who made her laugh when she thought she couldn't anymore. They had built a sanctuary in their love, a place where nothing could hurt them, or so they had believed. Every day with Samir had felt like a gift. There were the mornings when he would surprise her with breakfast in bed, the weekends spent wandering through the bustling streets of the city, and the quiet nights at home, curled up together on the couch watching old movies. Samir was her home, her safe place. When the accident happened, everything changed. The house, once filled with warmth and laughter, now felt cold and empty. Lena would wake up every morning, expecting to see Samir beside her, his arm around her waist, pulling her close. But each morning, she was met with the silence of an empty bed. The grief was unbearable. There were days when Lena didn't leave the house at all, when the weight of the loss crushed her chest and made it impossible to breathe. She would sit in their living room, staring at the walls, her mind replaying the memories of their life together. The most painful moments were the small things, finding his shoes by the door, his favorite book lying on the coffee table, and the old sweater he had left hanging on the back of the chair. These things, which once brought comfort, now only made the emptiness more real. But amidst the pain, Lena knew she couldn't give up. Samir would never want that for her. He had always told her to live life fully, to never let fear or sorrow hold her back. One evening, as Lena sat on their balcony, looking at the stars, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Samir, or at least, it appeared to be. "I love you, Lena. I know you're going through so much right now, and I wish I could be there to hold you. I never thought I'd leave so soon, but if you're reading this, it means I've gone. Please, don't let my absence stop you from living. You deserve all the happiness in the world, and I'll always be with you in your heart. Be strong, my love. I'll be watching over you." Lena froze, staring at the message in disbelief. She hadn't expected this, especially since the message came after his death. How could it have been sent? She checked the time. It was sent the night of the accident, the very night he had passed. Tears streamed down her face as she realized that Samir had known his time was limited. He had somehow found a way to send her a final message, to ensure she knew how deeply he loved her, even after his death. It was as if, even in his last moments, Samir had thought of her, had wanted to leave her with something to hold on to. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Lena continued to feel Samir's presence around her in everything. The house, the streets they had walked together, even the little things they had shared, it all felt like a piece of him was still there. But as the months passed, Lena realized she couldn't keep drowning in the grief. Samir had given her the strength to survive, to move forward. He had shown her, in his final message, that life was for living, and though he was gone, his love would never leave her. So, Lena began to take small steps toward healing. She started by visiting the places they had loved, doing the things they had done together. She would sit at the cafe where they had their first date and read the book Samir had gifted her. She began to take on new challenges, knowing that Samir would be proud of her for pushing through the pain and finding joy again. Writing became a solace for Lena. She began to write letters to Samir, telling him about her days, her struggles, her triumphs. It was a way for her to feel connected to him, even though he was no longer physically with her. In each letter, she poured her heart out, sharing everything that she couldn't say out loud. Eventually, Lena met new people who supported her, friends, family, even strangers who offered her kindness. She didn't fall in love again, but she began to rediscover the love she had for herself, something that Samir had always encouraged her to nurture. One day, as Lena walked through the park where she and Samir had spent many evenings, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. The grief still lingered, but it no longer held her captive. Samir had taught her how to live fully, even in the face of loss. Years later, Lena stood at Samir's grave, the place where his physical body lay, but his spirit would always reside in her heart. "I'll never forget you, Samir," she whispered, placing a single white rose on his grave. "You were my everything, and you always will be. I love you." As she walked away, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. The grief had never truly left, but she had learned to live with it, to honor Samir's memory by living the life he would have wanted for her. Even in death, love is eternal. This extended version deepens the emotional journey of Lena, exploring her grief, healing, and eventual rediscovery of self-love and strength. It highlights the long, difficult process of moving forward while keeping the memory of a lost loved one alive.